I'd like to call the March 18th, 2022 Long Hill Township Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Long Hill Township Board of Education was given as required by the Open Publics Meeting Act as follows. Notice was sent to the Echo Sentinel and Daily Record on September 18th, 2023. Notices were posted on the bulletin board in the first floor entrance of the School District Administration Building, Gillette, New Jersey. Notices were filed with the Township Clerk, and notices were mailed to all persons who have requested individual notice pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Butler?
Here.
Mrs. Daly? Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Here.
Dr. Marr?
Here.
Mrs. McLennan?
Here.
Ms. Nyquist?
Here.
Ms. Ruvalo?
Here.
Mrs. Case?
Here. Any communications?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Board committee and liaison reports. Karen.
A meeting was held for the Morris County Ed Services Commission last week, and it's the same thing. They're doing the budget. Their budget is different. I think I've mentioned before. They don't get state aid. They don't get any money from property taxes. Their budget is purely based on their the revenue they receive from membership, as well as from the services that they generate that the different districts are going to pay for. The budget this year, or the coming year, is going to be $3 million less than the last year. Most of that comes from a decrease in the requirement for special education transportation, as well as special education services. It's a combination of things. There were some students, because of COVID, they extended, usually they, how should I say this? They get over, when they get 21, they have to leave the system. But with COVID, some were given 1 year extension, some were given 2 years extension. So that required extra services and extra transportation, and that's gone now. The other thing too is, when the whatever funds came in to be distributed to non-public schools associated with the COVID relief, it was administered through Morris County. It's the Services Commission, and they got a commission for it. That's all gone, so they don't have a commission coming in. So that's really where the big chunk of the reduction came. Last Wednesday, the Finance Committee met, and we went over a lot of things. Several things which show up on your agenda. We did a brief review of our goals, and something that is on the agenda, and also I'll mention efforts that are underway with shared services with Watchung, as well as possibly something working out with Hudson Way, where fees could be obtained, is a step for the generating or cost savings associated with our expenditures. One member of the board submitted questions for review, to George. I want to thank Robin, Adele, and Don, who worked diligently to put that together. I believe everybody had a chance to see the questions and the responses, and there are no other questions that are around about the budget. If there are, Robin's there. Okay, all right. Next, Alphabest. This year's their contract is up. Robin approached them, and they're very well aware that it's going to be an RFP situation, and there's no problem with that. With respect to Hudson Way, as I mentioned, George has been in discussion. They would like to have maybe 5 to 7 students attend one science period at Central, and either getting a fee, but also they would possibly offer us, if we could arrange it, and if it works, that we have takers to have Chinese as an extracurricular. They have Chinese. They also requested that their students might participate in some of our extracurricular activities, and there's certain legal things, I guess, that have to be checked out in regulations. So if it's possible, it seems they're not squeamish about paying a fee for that either, so that's good. With respect to the summer programs, it's on the agenda for shared services agreement Watchung Borough, where we will join together for our extended school year program. They will provide their teachers, they will provide the aides, They will provide the transportation, and it will just be held here. And after talking with Frank, B&G, it's gonna be held at Millington. And the classes will be merged. I mean, there'll be Long Hill and Watchung students, in classes. It's not gonna be Watchung in one and Long Hill in another. And the teachers will serve, so there's a possible cost savings, at least in the cost of our program. Transportation. This year, the CPI came out to be 5.81, and that's the amount or the percentage that the bus companies could raise their rates. So Watchung and Long Hill and Watchung Hill said, no way are you getting 5.81. So they started out at 2 and they settled at 4. So we'll see some savings in that. It was again one of those questions of double let you know versus the one you don't. What was really imparted to them is they want a seamless beginning, and the drivers, I guess people have been very happy with the drivers here, so that they have now. If the drivers come back, they said we have the same drivers, so it all depends on whether they come back. Subscription busing. What was put in the budget last year, actually, less revenue came in. So Robin lowered the forecast for subscription busing revenue this year, and that's reflected in the budget. With respect to the National School Lunch Program, it's possible that we could be going out for a competitive contract in looking at things that are available to us. You can have lunch, you can have snacks, you can have breakfast, etc. To start out, it's only going to be considered for lunch. The PTO is on board with this. The RFP that will generate is going to have to include something associated with personnel, because you need somebody who's going to, check what comes in, get it appropriately set up, and for the students, and also we learned from Warren that person also coordinates the volunteers who help out with the lunches. So that expenditure for personnel will be included in the RFP. And then there are some standard things that are on the agenda all the time, annual agenda all the time. Withdrawal from reserves for the capital improvements, travel expenditures, professional service expenditures, approval of the ed services, Maury County, their rates, and the joint transportation agreement with Sussex County. And that's it. And governance will be meeting tomorrow.
May I add something to that?
Okay, go ahead.
Karen, that was so quick and thorough, actually, considering everything we've been discussing in finance, and now we're up for the budget. I just think people need fair warning of this for next year. With the bus contracts, in order to reduce, I know we've mentioned it before, but in order to reduce the times that our children are on buses, right now, mostly people who are taking busing are receiving almost door to door. Not everybody, but almost door to door. And next year, to reduce the amount of time that these kids are sitting on the buses, and you have to reduce the stops. So I think everyone has to anticipate that next year, you're not going to have a stop right in front of your house, and it's for the better. It's obviously you're not going to have to cross any main roads. The bus stops are all structured in the safest way possible. But you might have to walk down the street. But all in all, we have our kids sitting on the bus less. And I know when I was a kid, I had to walk a half a mile to my bus stop. So it's not going to be anything like that. But I just want parents to be prepared that, for multiple reasons, as far as keeping our bus costs as low as possible, but more importantly, for the best of all of our kids that are on the bus, there is going to be some walking a few extra steps next year for the sake of our kids.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, Crystal?
Nothing this month.
Okay, Danielle?
Yes, we did have a Community Relations Committee meeting on March 12th. The minutes have not yet gone out yet, so that will be coming out shortly, and then I'll be able to go ahead and report.
Okay. And?
We did not have a student achievement meeting since our last meeting. I did get the opportunity to attend the New Jersey School Board's Morris County President and Vice President's meeting, which was on Thursday, March 14th. In general, it was, a lot of discussion from the local board presidents in Morris County about issues, for school board leadership. But in particular, topics included governance, and also there's some
rules and the differences between choosing to have your elections in November or in April.
Okay. Any questions for Ann? Okay, Tom?
Nothing to report, but to touch on community relations. This is our last meeting before the Sterling Street Fair, so information will be flowing without it being an open public meeting, but about how we can person that and then what essentials we need.
Okay, thank you. Justin?
No report.
Okay. Melissa?
Yes, we had a policy committee meeting last week. It was me, Justin, Crystal, and Mr. Alexis in attendance. I apologize, I sent out a draft of the meeting minutes to just the committee only, but I did not get them to the board, and those policies, you'll see, are on our agenda. But the good news is that there were really no substantive changes. So the fact that you will still get the minutes after the fact, but we were looking at grammatical formatting, that type of stuff. So our next policy committee is on April 9th, and that is at 8:30 p.m. via Google Meet. We'll be reviewing another 9 policies. I'd like to thank George because George is, the policy committee usually tries to take on the policies because George is busy being our superintendent of schools. But to get us ahead a little bit or catch us up, George is going to be taking on the review of 3 policies when he usually actually reviews all of them to start with. But so thank you for taking the initiative to do that.
And the minutes are in the board folder.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Liz
so
put
you
them
saw
in
those.
the folder. Yes, everyone saw them.
And I'm happy that you all got to see them. So I will be taking some continuing legal education classes as the legislative liaison to hopefully catch everyone up by the next meeting. But I would like to point out that in Michigan was the first state to prosecute 2 parents of a school shooter. Both were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And the message from those 2 cases is that if you purchase your child a gun, which I know is not common here, but if you do not keep that gun safe, if you ignore the warning signs from your child regarding the pleas for help and your child's mental instability, and your child goes on to do something absolutely horrific and a crime, even though it wasn't any intention on your part, your neglect as a parent can be interpreted as involuntarily, it's not murder, it's involuntary manslaughter. So again, parents, be aware of your guns, be aware of your children's pleas for help, and be aware of how safe you keep your household, because this, although it's the first, it's not going to be the last, unfortunately, school incident shooting that we see, and it's not going to be the last time a parent is held criminally responsible for their child's conduct. So that's that.
Okay. Any questions for Melissa? Okay, Katie?
Okay, there's no buildings and ground update, as I wasn't at the meeting due to a family emergency. In terms of the Long Hill Education Foundation, we just have a couple events coming up. We are currently going through a cookie decorating sale. You can order the packets up until April 12th, and pickup will be in Millington at a private home on April 19th and April 20th. The times will be sent to you if you decide to purchase. And also the Tiger Tracks Color Run will be held at Millington on Friday, May 17th, and we're still putting together the information, but it should be a really great day, and it's open to everyone in the district. It should be a lot of fun. And then we've approved 4 grants so far this year. And we approved a theater arts for Central School, a video recording camera, so they can record the performances. They can also use it for other things at the school. There's walkie-talkies that we also approved, which allows the stage crew to communicate, and it teaches them skills on to support production. So that's exciting. And then we approved the Newark Museum trip for the 5th graders. So we'll be funding the actual trip and also the support staff that is required to go. And then finally, for Millington School, there's going to be sensory inclusive resources for the whole building. So it's a kind of a resource, different things that teachers can, it'll be stored in a specific area, and teachers, as they need to accommodate students, they can borrow something from the closet or whatever and see if it works, and then obviously use it if it works, and if it doesn't, it's not just sitting in their classroom. So it allows for teachers to kind of experiment with the students and see what works for them. So it's approximately $5,000. We're hoping to get some more applications, and we're happy to fulfill our mission, which is to support our schools. So that's it.
Thank you.
Can the color run be a brisk walk?
Well, the kids do the running.
Oh, we
Not
don't
the
have
grown-ups.
to.
No, but
Oh, that's
but,
brilliant.
But the
That's brilliant.
No,
I
There's no
support that.
running by. I mean, if you want to run.
But
no,
that's
adults,
okay.
Some adults can even throw the color.
Oh, that's even better.
Yes,
At our own
especially if they're
kids.
sponsors. The sponsors also are allowed to toss some colors. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And,
Brilliant idea.
It's all safe, and actually, this is a very good point. The color that is, it's a very safe powder that is machine washable. So even if your kid comes home head to toe covered in dye, they're perfectly safe, and it comes out in the wash. So
I'll believe that when I see it, Katie, but I'll take it. I don't think that should deter anyone, though.
well, no, but also you can purchase a T-shirt when you sign up, and they can wear that. So then you don't have to worry about it damaging anything.
And
So-
something's going to go around about this for everyone to sign
Oh
up?
yes,
or-
yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Katie? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. I don't have a typical report, but because there's the resolution about authorizing Robin to submit the tentative budget to the Morris County Department of Education office, I just want to say a few things. And some of these were mentioned last week in the report on progress toward district goals and in Robin's highlights. But I'm very pleased with how the budget turned out, and for a few reasons. One, when you think about it, the budget is really well aligned with the district goals and the board goals, which in turn, of course, arose out of the strategic plan. We've placed a serious emphasis on the instructional needs of our students and the professional development of our faculty. We've added a STEAM teacher at the middle school. I'm very excited about that, and made an investment in instructional resources, including iReady, and an instructional consultant to assist us with the MTSS process next year. Budget makes a significant investment in technology. I talked about this last week, and it's allowing us to move much closer to the full one-to-one district-wide implementation of our technology plan. We have our one-to-one Chromebook initiative fully implemented currently, but now we're turning our attention to iPads for our K-1 students. Also in the budget, we have funds reserved to transform the media center at Millington and an outdated technology room at the middle school into flexible, innovative learning spaces that will inspire inquiry, creativity, and collaborative problem solving. And thanks to the additional state aid, we found a way to continue with the Summer Institute. We also have the new website platform coming soon, and we're pursuing, as were mentioned in the finance minutes, 2 shared service agreements to save money. The whole budget process, as Robin's told us, starts in early fall, and it goes on for extended periods of time. The Finance Committee has been wonderful in terms of the questions they've asked and the suggestions being made. The entire board has been very supportive. Robin has pulled this whole thing together with Dom and Adele and Natalia and everyone's assistance in the business office. But I also want to mention the administrative leadership team, because we asked them more than once to go back and look at certain priorities and to kind of rethink and reassess those priorities for what they needed to run the schools and to focus on our students. So they did that, and so we have a kind of a new look to the budget, and I'm very pleased with it. I just want to thank everyone for that.
Thank you. Okay, business administrators report.
Okay, I'm going to go to the podium because I have a couple slides I'd like to show you all.
Okay, great.
Okay. So tonight we'll be asking the board to approve the 2024-25 tentative budget so that we can send it to the Morris County Superintendent for approval. The budget being presented is $22,938,909, and it represents a 2% increase in the general fund tax levy. As Mr. Alexis just said, the business office, superintendent, and finance committee members begin budgeting early November through late December. We develop the budget by analyzing historical and current actual spending and revenues, but we also gather information from administration and outside sources as well. We talk to our insurance advisors, to our auditor, to collaborating districts, and also we look at the state sources. The budget development is designed to sustain and enhance our current programs and maintain our district's facilities. The board has diligently reviewed the 24-25 budget, scrutinizing both revenues and expenditures for our district, along with our capital improvement plans. Every member of the board had the opportunity to submit questions, and these questions, along with responses, were shared with board members, ensuring transparency and collective understanding of our budgeting decisions. I'd like to now share a few slides with you that you haven't seen yet. Okay, this slide shows our budgeted per pupil amount for 22-23. Our district's commitment to fiscal responsibility for our community while ensuring quality education for our students is evident through our per pupil expenditures, which falls within the middle range when compared to other K-8 districts of similar size in neighboring towns and Morris County. The total tax levy increase for 24-25 is approximately $362,000 over the prior year. The tax levy is derived by dividing the total tax levy by the assessed valuations, which are provided by Long Hill Township. The amount is then multiplied by the average assessed home value that is also provided by the township. For the average home having an assessed value of $596,357. This equates to an additional $220.12 per year, or $18.34 a month. The last slide that I'd like to share with you shows a graph of Long Hill's historical look at the tax levy over the past 15 years. The green band on the graph represents the goal to maintain a tax levy the community can afford while prioritizing the delivery of high-quality education to our students. So I'm very happy that, again, we're at 2% across within the green band. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Any questions? No. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
Are there any comments from the public on agenda items? Okay, at this point, the Board of Education, I know, I see him. At this point, the Board of Education welcomes comments from any member of the public on agenda items only. Please note that as per Board Policy Number 1120, a total of 15 minutes is allocated for public comments at any single board meeting. In order to provide residents the opportunity to comment, individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each at any particular board meeting. The board may extend these time limits at its discretion. Any questions should be directed to the board president, and depending upon the nature and complexity of the question, it may or may not be answered during the meeting by the administration. If so, the response would occur after this public portion of the meeting has concluded. Everyone has the freedom to speak, but please be advised that anything said in public may have legal ramifications, and there is no protection regarding statements made by the public. Please state your name and address before you begin.
Great, thanks everybody. Hi, John Perez, Blue Star Drive. I sent comments last week. So I have one daughter who's in pre-K and another daughter who is 3, will be turning 4 in September. I get 3 really quick comments. The first is one, just actually a thank you. I appreciate it is work to come out here. Thank you for serving our community and going to serve in an elected capacity. That's wonderful. Thank you for what you're doing. Number 2, I know I sent comments last week related to expansion of pre-K and the idea of universal pre-K enrollment and enabling that within our town. I just want to bring that up again. Unfortunately, I didn't submit comments in time for tonight. Finished a meeting and said, let me just come over and share that again. I really want to emphasize, I think there is value in universal pre-K. Making that investment, hope is not a strategy. I do not think the state will ever fund universal pre-K. That is an investment that I think our town can make. Another fellow taxpayer within our town, that's an investment I would gladly make as a taxpayer within the town. This is not sour grapes that one of my daughters now will not get into it. That's fine. We'll accommodate that for our family. We've already made plans for it. It's not that, but I really want to make sure that we continue to pay that forward. So that's my second comment of that is important to me within the town. I'd love it for the board to continue to emphasize that. And then my third comment is actually related to allocation strategy. I do think if we're going to have a prolonged period where there's going to be under capacity in pre-K, that we really take another look at allocation strategy within that, and that there's a more comprehensive look. I don't have answers for what that looks like, but I do think that that's something that going forward, if there's going to be dozens of individuals with potential students who do not make it, that there is a comprehensive allocation strategy beyond the lottery, potentially. Thank you again. Appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving to resolutions. Financials. Karen, will you move in financials numbers 1 through 11?
So moved.
Excuse me, that Danielle, you need to abstain from one of them, yes? Number 6.
Sure. Okay, so,
Yes.
okay, so moved. Any second?
Second.
Okay.
Question?
Any questions? Yes.
Thank you. On number 1, it talks about our May meeting being at 5:30. I know this has happened in the past. People from the public will show up at 5:30, but we're in exec session. When it gets out to the newspaper, can we make sure that they know that our regular board meeting is scheduled to start at 7:30?
Well,
Or can we not do that?
so it's, the retreat is open. It's not an executive session. But if we were going to say that 5:30 PM, I don't know, Mr. Alexis, 5:30 PM is the retreat with the board meeting starting at 7:30?
Yeah, we can,
It just,
Yeah.
I think, is
Yeah.
written
We-
here on the agenda.
right, we can clarify that in the message that goes out, when the agenda goes out.
I know
Okay.
that people have shown up.
Yes, okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes,
Mr.
but,
Fo- Yeah, uh-huh,
okay, but we'll be, yeah, abstain.
yeah. Sorry. Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Ms. Ruvalo?
Yes.
Mrs. Case?
Yes. Crystal, will you move in personnel number 12?
So moved. Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Ms. Ruvalo?
Yes.
Mrs. Case?
Yes. Danielle, will you move in policy numbers 13 through 17?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
Question?
Questions on?
Policy number 3515, and I did read your notes, so I have the answer that it's covered in 5131.6. I was just, in the notes it says that it's better handled there. But I was just wondering, if we remove the word tobacco, and I don't remember what the title of the policy is, if it's just smoking prohibition.
It is.
So if it is, then can either tobacco be removed so nobody smokes anything, or marijuana be included, so that while it may be better covered in 5131, it's not ignored by somebody who sees it only in 3515.
Can it be? Well, I think I absolutely see what you're saying, and we all took a close look at this. I think by virtue of the fact that it's not in 3515 does not, what I did to also be careful was I did the search to see where it would come up in different policies to make sure if anyone did the search, it would come up. So I think what we were looking at too was to align it with the policies that are on the NJSBA. And so it was more for simplicity purposes. Your comment was really good and it was well taken, but it was more of for future committees, when future committees come forward and they're doing the same work that we do we want to confuse them even though it's dealt with somewhere else? So, I mean, if that's something that the board wants to do, I think we were just looking at it for administration purposes. It would be easier just to keep them the way it is. But your comment was well taken. We all agreed that we could absolutely put it in both places. But, I think it was just, let's leave it the way it is, where it's the cleanest.
Okay, as long as it's prohibited and.
It's
somebody doesn't-
absolutely
somebody's not gonna
prohibited.
say, well, it's medicinal. Yes, so's liquor if you, back in the 1840s.
Yes, no, it's, and we discussed that as far as the medicinal use and whether, you know, what to extent that covered, and we heard what you were saying, and it's absolutely prohibited, and I think the other policy covers it much more in detail, that prohibition.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
Just to add to that, we didn't want someone seeing it in this policy and thinking that that was also the extent of the coverage of it. So to leave it in the other policy where it was addressed in much more detail.
Just a question. Aren't certain types, like, isn't something that's considered a drug prohibited anyway on campus? Or is there
Yes,
any
and
gray areas with that?
that's the substance abuse policy, the 5, you might know it.
5131?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's outlawed anyway, so it makes sense that, I just wanted to.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions?
But again, I see his point.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Mr. Rubelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Case?
Yes. Okay, any items for discussion? Unfinished business?
I just want to ask, in the president, vice president session, is that interesting a law now, or is it just still being discussed?
It appears it changed, the law is allowing you to hold an April election, and it seemed to have maybe gone through quickly, the change. But first of all, it's cost prohibitive because the local Board of Educations would be funding that election.
You have to pay for it,
So you're
yeah.
paying for it, where when we use the November election, then they already have the poll stations
Right.
and everyone in place. But it also just created some complications in terms of term limits, so that we would have terms that were coming up for election in November, and then it would be cutting short the terms for the people who were due the next November to the April election. So you could potentially have 6 brand new board members within 4 months. So New Jersey school boards may be maybe lobbying or working on that a little bit and bringing that point to the legislator, because I think in the past when they did it, they extended the term limits.
Right. Well,
It had a lot to
went-
do with budgets. It
it
had,
went-
yeah,
It went only from, it was all April.
yeah.
Then they extended it
To-
to June to November. So it did change your term.
Yeah, it seems that for districts that may be going beyond the 2%, but they don't have waivers to do so, that there's limits with the second question where you can go to the town for additional income, an increase for certain types of projects. And that some districts felt that was better done in April, so that they would get the response in April, so that they could plan accordingly for September and for the summer.
Correct.
Whereas if we were going, which we're not, but if we were going to go to the town for an additional increase beyond our budget, beyond what we're allowed through the waivers and the different funds that we're allowed to pull from, and we are leaving that on a November ballot, then we wouldn't know until November if we had the monies or not. So the solution there is if you're planning a year in advance. But the nice thing, I guess, at the moment is this is not applicable to conversations we've been having. So I listened, I learned, but it was not something that pertained to us at the moment. Yeah, it was interesting.
I think you get a better turnout in
In November.
In November.
That's been the big.
There was some conversation about that too, but
That was
Any
one of the
other?
reasons why they moved it from April.
Is this
And actually,
something
believe it or
that-
not, there's 1 or 2 districts in Morris County, and I can't remember who they are, still do it in April.
oh, there were 1 or 2 who did it, and there's reasons. I think that different towns have different reasons for it. Yeah.
Is this something that you want me to look into as legislative chair, or is it being covered?
I think it. I don't
It
think we
was-
need to personally.
It was
I
already
think
signed into law.
it is
Okay,
a law,
so then
but we have a choice as a board. We have a choice, and for me, and I think the finance committee is aware of it. One of the main issues with the choice is that there's a cost associated with us having the election in April. We would have to fund all the polling stations, and I'm not sure of all the costs, but why would we fund that without another reason? There has to be a reason driving, I think, that change in funds. So
Kim, do you want me to research this and just provide a memo to the board? Or are we fine with knowing it's just in November right now, that the way our town does it?
Yeah, I mean, you could put something together to say where, like, the state of where things are.
Okay.
That would be fine. Okay. Any other business? Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank
Please
you.
stay.